Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bio with Shansi. In today's lesson, I want us to look at cancer. We are still covering the topic of mitotic cell cycle. We have already finished covering most of the content. Actually, this is the last section. So if you haven't watched the videos, please go ahead and watch the videos already posted about chromosomes, about the cell cycle, about telomeres, about stem cells. But in today's lesson, we are focusing on cancer. So let's get started right away. When you look at cancer, it is one of the most common diseases in developed countries, but even in developing countries, like in my country, Uganda, here, we are also suffering with cancer. It roughly accounts for very many deaths. Like they're giving us an example here in 2009 in the UK. You find that every 15 minutes, one person dies from cancer, you can imagine. And lung cancer is very common because people smoke a lot, and smoking is one of the major causes of lung cancer. Men usually suffer with prostate cancer, so it's very common among men. There are other different types of cancers. Breast cancer is so common in women, and there are over 200 different types of cancer depending on which organ of the body is affected. The question is, how does cancer come about? We were able to see that if a cell is to divide, it has to first receive a signal that it is to divide. However, when you look at cancers come from uncontrolled mitosis. Uncontrolled mitosis, that means that the cell is just going to divide without any control. That is how cancers come about. So these cancerous cells just divide repeatedly, and before you know it, they are going to form what you call a tumor. They are going to form a tumor. So a tumor is a group of those cells. It is an irregular mass of cells. You're going to have very many of those cells. They are going to be of different sizes. Some of them don't even have all that a cell is expected to have so that they function well. Why? Simply because they were made from the process of uncontrolled cell division. So it is very important that cell division is precisely controlled. Before a cell divides, the body ensures that does that cell have all that it is expected to have? Does it have the correct DNA? Has it been able to get all the chromosomes? Does it have enough cytoplasm, enough mitochondria, enough organelles, such that they can be divided evenly among the daughter cells? But in cancer, the cells just divide anyhowly, without any control. And usually, what brings about that uncontrolled mitosis? It's mutations. When someone talks about a mutation is a change in a gene, a change in the gene that codes for a protein. So usually the gene that goes through a mutation and that gene causes cancer is called an oncogene. So an oncogene is a mutated gene that causes cancer. So you're going to have a mutation happening. Once that mutation happens, you're going to have an oncogene formed. An oncogene is a mutated gene. So once we have that oncogene formed, this means that the cell that is having that oncogene does not respond to any signals. It just starts to divide uncontrollably. And the more it divides, the more it passes on those mutations or the oncogenes to other daughter cells, which are also just going to continuously divide. Funny thing about these cancerous cells is even they manage to escape cell death. They don't die. Because normally, if a cell doesn't have all it's expected to have, it goes through automatic cell death. But the cancer cells never go through that. Or we can have the immune system destroying those cells, but the cancer cells are never destroyed. So right now, you might have some cancerous cells forming within your body, but your immune system is always destroying them. That is why you do not develop cancer. However, for these cancerous cells, they escape the immune system. And as a result, they are going to keep on dividing, passing on that mutation to the descendants, to their daughter cells. Now, usually, we are going to have certain agents that increase the chances of these mutations happening so that we have oncogenes formed. And those are what we call carcinogens. So a carcinogen is a substance that causes cancer, a substance that is going to initiate that mutation, which brings about formation of an oncogene. And any substance that is a carcinogen can still be called carcinogenic, like smoking. When someone smokes, the smoke contains tar. So tar is a carcinogen. Now let's use this picture to understand the different stages in the development of cancer. Always, we are going to have step number one. You are going to have your cells exposed to carcinogens. You could be smoking and your cells are exposed to tar. You could be maybe in intense sunlight and you're exposed to the UV light. You could be exposed to X-rays. You could be exposed to metals. And then once your cells are exposed to metals, the DNA in your cells is going to go through a mutation. So that is how we are going to have oncogenes made. But an oncogene is a mutated gene. So an oncogene is going to be made, and that oncogene is going to make your cell cancerous. This cancerous cell is not going to respond to signals from other cells. So it's just going to continue dividing. You can see step 3, it goes through uncontrolled mitosis. It is forming cells, very many cells, a mass of cells. Now, these masses of cells are not going to even be removed by the immune system. So they're going to just continue going through that uncontrolled mitosis, and now are going to have a tumor. So this is a tumor. Some cells are even very small. They are going to change their characteristics. They're not going to look like normal cells under a microscope. Some are too small, others have not really grown, but they just continue dividing. And now this is what we call a tumor. So you're going to have a tumor formed. Now we can have blood capillaries starting to supply that tumor with nutrients, or the lymph vessels supplying that tumor. And we can have parts of that tumor breaking off and entering into the blood circulation. And this leads to certain types of cancer that can spread from one part of the body to another, whereby we can have cancer in the breast, but then it ends up going to the lungs, or it ends up going to other parts of the body. How does that happen? It happens through a process called metastasis. So with metastasis, we can have some of the cells of this tumor breaking off, entering into the bloodstream, and then they are carried to other parts of the body. And that type of cancer is very dangerous. Why? It's because time is going to come and you can't even tell where those different cancerous cells were able to settle, because you're going to be looking for those cancerous cells throughout the body. So that is how you find someone has been found with cancer maybe on one breast, and then if you know it, even the other breast also has, because of metastasis. So metastasis leads to what we call secondary cancers forming throughout the body. And however, not all tumors are cancerous. So tumors that are not cancerous are called benign tumors. So here we shall just have a mass of cells. It will not really affect the body part so much. Like an example, so these are benign tumors, but the cancerous ones are the ones that are able to disintegrate, then they go invade other parts of the body. So these malignant tumors are the ones that go through metastasis. So they can invade neighboring tissues, they can enter blood vessels. And when they go to those other organs and tissues, they don't leave them the same. They are going to affect their functioning. So tumors that spread from one part of the body and invade other tissues, they go to those tissues and start destroying them. And those are the ones called malignant tumors. So they are going to interfere with the normal functioning of that area, where they are going to start to grow. An example, they could enter into a blood vessel and block it. They could go to the lungs and maybe block the alveoli, which is going to affect gas exchange. They might block the airways. So there are different ways they affect those other regions where they have settled. And we have already seen that if these cancerous cells break off and spread through blood, they will cause secondary growth, secondary cancer. And the spread of that cancer is what we call metastasis. And it can be very hard to find those secondary cancers. Can be very hard to find those secondary cancers. So basically, that is it about cancer. Remember, how does cancer come about? Talk about a carcinogen. The cells are exposed to the carcinogen. DNA goes through a mutation. We are going to have oncogenes made. The cells with the oncogenes go through uncontrolled mitosis. They are going to form a tumor. And then we can even have the tumor supplied with blood vessels. We can have metastasis where the tumor cells break off and spread to other parts of the body, causing secondary cancers or secondary growths. So that is it about cancers for today. If this video has helped you, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be bringing you content that is going to allow you excel. That is all I'm here for. I want you guys to excel and get very good grades. So see you again in the next one. Bye.